Hello and welcome to the Wildlife Moto channel, and look who's back. Finally, after what seems like an absolute eternity, I am back in the garage, sat next to my 1981 BMW R100CS engine and a frame, and I tell you what, it looks a whole lot better than the last time this left my doors. It's looking absolutely amazing because it has been completely rebuilt. All the powder coating's done, and in fact I'm sat in the garage at the moment surrounded by probably 90% of the parts that need to go back on this bike. So we're finally there, we're finally in a position to say we're ready to start rebuilding this old classic bike. Now, it was back in around January time when I kind of threw the towel in on what I was originally planning to do. I was planning just to give it a bit of a spit and polish, you know, kind of get it as good as it could be and then just go and ride it. But the more I kind of dug into the bike, the more I was just like, I'm not sure about this thing. I think it needs a bit more love than I was originally planning on giving it. So I just decided, right, okay, clean slate. Let's just get this thing absolutely as good as it can be. So the engine was sent off back in February to get completely rebuilt. So it was stripped down to the crank. Everything's been done inside it. It's been aqua blasted, so all the engine case, all the heads have been completely blasted. The heads were also re-nicker sealed. There's new pistons in there. There's new valves. There's new valve seats. So all that kind of head work's been done. Things like bearings, seals, timing chain, all that kind of stuff, all done. So it's pretty much as good as you can hope to get these things in terms of that rebuild. So I'm really happy with that. We should get many happy miles now that we've done that work. All the electrics still need to go back on it, so it hasn't got an alternator in it at the moment, or about anything electrical on it at the moment. So all that needs to be done. That's something I'm going to have to do, but it's not a problem. We've got the lovely timing chest case back on here that I had cerakoted and then painstakingly sanded back the exposed fins here. Same story with the rocker box covers, which we'll have a look at in a second as well. That's all up on the bench along with all the other bits and pieces that were powder coated. And when it comes to powder coating on this, obviously the frame's been done, but all the other bits and pieces have been done as well. And I've gone for a slightly softer kind of satin powder coat. It's not full matte, it's like a glossy satiny kind of finish, which I think just looks really good. It's not that kind of high gloss, which looks really lovely out of the box, but it can get a little bit, you know, you just have to kind of touch it and it starts getting a little bit, you know, it's kind of micro grazes and scratches that you see on powder coat sometimes. I think the satin finish just accounts for a lot of that kind of wear and tear over time. So hopefully this should weather a little bit nicer than going for a really high gloss, in theory. Anyway, we'll see. The only thing that is high gloss on the bike are the wheels. And I know that's a little bit of a controversial move, but I've gone for black glossed powder coat wheels purely because I wanted to do something a little bit different, something you don't always see on these bikes. And this is a bit of a resto mod project, as I've talked about in the past. I'm not going to be 100% about getting this back to original specs. To be honest, that would have been pretty unrealistic anyway. If you're going to go original, then you might as well do that properly and just go like all out BMW parts, source everything, get it absolutely OEM. And I was just never going to do that on this bike. So because it's a CS, it's not an R90S, I'm just like, okay, there is some room here for creative license. And that means things like the fuel tank is slightly different to how it would have originally been. It's not metallic black anymore, it's a kind of a high gloss black. The wheels are black, the suspension's going to be different. There's going to be a few little subtle changes here and there, top yoke's different, all that kind of stuff. But the silhouette of the bike, the principle of the bike will very much remain intact. And I think that's important. I didn't want to turn this into a calf racer or something like that. I wanted it to stay, you know, kind of practically in line with the original design. So it's going to look a little bit modern, but be very much an original looking bike in that sense, if you know what I mean. Anyway, let's grab the camera and have a little look around some of the boxes that I've currently got stuffed into this very small workspace. And you have to excuse this workspace. This is definitely not a kind of best practice environment to be doing this type of work, but it's what I got. It's all I got. I'm in the middle of London and space is pretty difficult to come by. I've got other stuff and other bikes in here, so it's not ideal, but it's what I got, so I'm going to have to live with it. Hopefully I'll be able to do it without tripping over myself too often, and I think the more progress I make in terms of getting stuff back on the bike, the more kind of bench space I'll be able to kind of clear up, and you know, the easier it's going to get over time. But at the moment it is an absolute mess because literally everything apart from this is in a box. Anyway, let me show you. So here's a big bench full of stuff, and this isn't normally how I store things. It's just I've got stuff out to kind of show you guys what's going on. So here's a big bit to start with. This is of course the bevel drive, or the final drive, with these BMWs being shaft driven. That's where it connects to the swing arm, and it's all been completely rebuilt, stripped and rebuilt. So all the kind of bearings and things inside here have been redone, and the case, as you can see, has been aqua blasted back to raw aluminium, looking good. So all this bit needs is the brake shoes to go on. So I've got new brake shoes, got to get the little cam actuator thing that goes through there, and then that's where it connects to the rear wheel. So that's all ready to go. These are the original 42-year-old bars, which were stripped and re-chromed, so they're brilliant. So happy with those. Quite hard to find replacement bars for these bikes, so it was kind of worth trying to save those. In here we've got, can I even show you this stuff? There's so much going on. So these are all the kind of powder coated parts. Let's have a quick look at a couple of these bits. Hello, they have done a fantastic job of those. So you might remember how absolutely terrible they looked back in the day, but look at that. Now that they've been done, they look absolutely brilliant. And this is a kind of a satin powder coat in line, got fingerprints all over it already, in line with the same powder coating that's been used on the frames. You can see it's just got the edge taken off it in terms of that gloss. It's a semi-gloss. So it's got a shine to it, but it's not that kind of cheesy high shine that you can sometimes get with powder coat. So I'm really happy with how that's turned out. So in here there's a combination of stuff that's been powder coated and cerakoted. This is one of the cerakoted parts. The original calipers on the bike. Let's have a look at these. Oh my gosh. Is that looking good? 42-year-old caliper, blasted, cerakoted in this kind of satiny black, and yeah, they look well nice, don't they? Threads looking super clean, all the mating faces looking good, and of course they're now ready for brand new pistons, seals, all that kind of stuff. So I've got a full rebuild kit for each of these calipers, so I'm well pleased with how that turned out, looking good. So yeah, so pretty much everything from, you know, the center stands to the calipers to, you can see here, you've got the swing arm, and they've either been powder coated, that kind of lovely satiny soft black, or cerakoted along similar lines. So these are the Rockerbox covers. You've seen these in previous videos that I've also kind of sanded back. You can also see in here the gearbox, completely rebuilt and vapor blasted as well. We had a couple of problems with this gearbox, so some of the helical gears inside there were pretty well worn out, so there's a lot of new components inside that gearbox as well. So again, just getting it ready for many happy miles ahead on the road. Always worth getting that kind of stuff done if you're going to the full extent of, you know, doing engine rebuilds and all that kind of stuff. Here in the swing arm we've got new bearings already pressed in here as well, so that's just absolutely ready to go and install. Guessing that's the center stand. So yeah. Elsewhere, because we had the engine aqua blasted, you know, all the bits and pieces like the sump. Look at that. It almost looks like it's been painted. This has not been painted, right? This is the look of aqua blasted aluminium. It looks incredible. Really, really nice. So that's looking good. This is the alternator cover that was also aqua blasted, so we can see, you know, some of the original kind of casting marks and things like that on it, but that's likely how it would have come from the factory. Yeah, original BMW parts, as you can see stamped here. And that is looking as good as new. So well pleased with how this has all turned out. You might have seen these on previous vids. This is, can you guess what it is yet? There you go. It's one of the carbs, which has also been completely rebuilt. Everything is new inside here, from the floats to the jets, all the bits and pieces like the springs and all that, all the screws, everything, diaphragm, the whole lot. So I will do one small modification to these carbs, and that is to put a manual choke on them. So this spring here will go, take this guy off, and we'll install these. So these I think will sit up here, be mounted there, and they're just manual pulleys. So we're just going to be able to pull the choke open and shut it off as we need. It won't have this return spring, so you have to manually just push it down. And it just cleans up the bike. It just gets rid of another cable that's going to be running up across the engine, across the headstock, into the handlebars and all that kind of stuff. It just gives us a little bit of a tidier look. And well, I don't know, I like it. I think it's cool. So yeah, they're going to go on, so we won't need the choke up on the bars anymore. Elsewhere, you might remember this guy. This is the rebuilt dash that I did. I did a whole video on this, showing how I replaced the original glass lenses for new perspex lenses, resealed everything, new gaskets, made sure everything's completely waterproof, put LED bulbs inside it, replaced stuff like the sticker here, which covers up the badly faded text that was on the original housing, all new stainless steel screws, tested it to make sure it's all properly waterproof, cleaned it all out, so that's ready hopefully for many happy miles ahead. And at least we know it's not going to leak like it was before. So that's all done. Then we've got these guys. So these are the handlebar controls, brake master cylinder that I rebuilt. So everything's been blasted and cerakoted. We've got a new brake master cylinder mechanism inside here, new reservoir, new grips, new bolts, new screws, new everything basically. So that's all ready to go back on the bike. Really happy with how they turned out. I've also just kind of redone some of the wiring as well. So we've got a new switch on there and new cables and all that kind of stuff. The entire braking system is going to get refreshed on the bike. So we've got new discs, we'll get new brake lines, new banjos, new everything. It's all new. You've seen these before. It's a brake disc. You don't need to see them again. Right then, inside here we got the fun stuff, he says sarcastically. So a combination of the new and the old. This is, well, I think this is the only new bit actually. So this is going to replace those big old Bosch coils. This is a much newer design coil that can deal with both sparks from a single unit. So we don't need those two massive, great big canisters that are strapped to the frame. I need to find a way to mount this. We'll just make a little bracket up and get that mounted onto the frame somehow. But yeah, that's a much tidier solution than those big old things we had on there before. So that's a new bit from the electrics. We've got here also, this is the diode board that sits just above the alternator. Look at that. That's proper old school, isn't it? I mean, I could probably keep this. What I will do is I think I'll change the wiring loom, because it's proper old and a bit grotty. This is what's called the bean can, and it's the timing mechanism. This is a kind of an electronic ignition, but it does have a mechanical advance on it. So that should be okay. They're actually quite expensive to buy replacement versions of this. You can go for a full digital system, but I think, well, if it ain't broken and it's really expensive to fix it, I might just clean that up and put that back on. One part that is quite new to this bike, which doesn't need changing, that's the starter motor. So that should all be good to go. We can just put that straight back in. You can see we've got a little gear there. It's used to turn over the flywheel. So that's all good. And then this is the ignition amplifier type thing that sits on the frame. So that's all good. We can keep that. And we've got spark plug caps, new spark plugs in there, all that kind of stuff. So a great big box of dirty electrics that I'm sure will give me many, many evenings of fun trying to work out how all that goes back together. I mean, it's pretty straightforward. It's just if there's faults with electric stuff, you know, that's when you start running into difficulties in terms of troubleshooting where the problems are and things. So I think what I'll do is I'll change the looms out on the starter system. There should be an alternator in there as well. Did we see an alternator? Or was that somewhere else? Oh yeah, there is an alternator in there. Well, it's part of it. Looking absolutely horrifically dirty. So that needs to get cleaned up, but we might be able to reuse that. And then here's the other bit in there. Yeah, so we'll have to see how we get on with that. It needs a little bit of TLC, I can tell you that much by looking at it. But she's pretty elderly. She's been around for a while. She's as old as me. So there you go. What's that? Battery terminal covers. So yeah, great big grubby old box of electrics. How much fun is that going to be? There's another box of electrics there. So this is the main loom, the main harness, whatever you want to call it. That connects into the headlight shell. So the original board is still inside the headlight, and that should be pretty good to go. It looks okay. I've changed some of the terminals on it, some of the plugs. Some of them are original, some of them just been cleaned out. So hopefully it's all right. As I said, I didn't have any major electrical problems with the bike when I was riding it back in November. So fingers crossed. Over here we've got more stuff, more powder coated bits and pieces. There you go. That's one of the indicator brackets. Can you see that? There you go. Idea of that. Beautiful. And we've just got boxes and boxes of new things that need to go on. So some nice original BMW exhaust nuts. They're ready to go on. We've got little fuel filters. We're going to be using those. Oh, talking of those, I've got a big problem. Do you want to talk about my big problem? Right, so up here is my beautiful, I'm not going to get it out now, but that is my beautiful petrol tank. Look at that. Gorgeous. Absolutely gorgeous. Beautiful. However, I'm an idiot. I'm an absolute idiot because that tank, beautiful as it looks on the outside, has got a big problem. The liner, the original factory liner that BMW put in that thing 42 years ago is shot, and I didn't realise. So it's been painted, and I foolishly had a proper look inside the tank after it was painted, and I'm not happy with it. So I'm going to have to send that off to get relined. I'm going to get a 2-part epoxy liner inside there, and I'm just praying, that my guy is going to be able to do it without guffing up my paintwork. And you know what? If he does guff it up, that's my fault, because I'm an idiot and I'll have to get it redone. But hopefully you won't. Anyway, right, so you can see here boxes of new stuff. All this stuff here with the Brembo branding all over it. I'll come round. Is obviously all the new stuff for the brakes, new pistons, new seals, new bolts, new pins. Can you see those? If you're going to change your braking internals, always get yourself some new pins. Why wouldn't you? Get yourself some nice stainless steel pins. Get yourself some nice new bleed valves. Just do it all. Here we've got new, open this. That's my little bag of fairing bolts, cup washers, little rubber mounts and all that kind of stuff. So that's ready to hold the fairing, the windscreen and the plastic dash mounts to the big painted fairing on the front of these bikes. So they're going to look good. Happy days. That's the helical drive for the, what is that for? The Speedo? For the Speedo from the Gearbox. I think. Yeah, it is. I'm still missing an airbox. That needs to come back from Cerakoting. Got a few other blasted parts here. That is the brake lever. Beautifully aqua blasted. I've got a new rear indicator mount because the one I've got on there is all rusty and horrible. I've shown this off before. That's the toaster tan top yoke, so that's a bit of a modification that's going to happen. Just makes it a little bit more rigid up on the forks. Talking of forks, for fork's sake, where are my forks? Here's the forks, and they've all been completely rebuilt. So yep, happy with those. And powder coated as well, so they're absolutely covered in fingerprints at the moment and need cleaning up. But yeah, that is the freshly rebuilt forks, powder coated, nicely kind of retapped, cleaned up those threads, look good. And no more reflectors. We've got these kind of laser engraved BMW logos on here, which look pretty cool. Nice. Yep. They're powder coated. This is a gloss black powder coat, and I'm sticking with my guns. I think they look absolutely flipping brilliant, so well happy with those. These are also shod in Continental Classic Attack tyres, real sticky rubber, radial design with these, so you get all the kind of benefits of a very modern, very grippy tyre. And we've got new stainless steel spindles in here. We've got new wheel bearings, everything like that. They've even still got the stickers on. Yuck. That's, ooh, how long has that been on there for? Gross. Anyway, so they're, yeah, ready to roll. There's another one behind there, but you'll just have to trust me on that. And if I just lift you up slightly, under here we have also the new suspension, rear suspension. So these are the Hagen Nitro shocks. It's a twin shock bike, so we're going to get these up on there. I just love them, absolutely blimmin' love them. Seem to have tons of preload in at the moment, so don't know why. Honestly, I'm not that heavy, but maybe they've set me up because they said I'd take a pillion, so that might get backed off a bit, but we'll see. We'll have to see. It's all stainless steel, these, so stainless steel spring, everything stainless apart from the mounting points, which are anodized aluminium, but they look lovely. New mirrors. Let's have a look at these. Lovely kind of chrome, original design. They're not original BMW parts, but they'll do. They look pretty. We're changing the throttle cables as well, just for new ones. So we've got Ben Hill. You've got to get Ben Hill, right? They're the best. Nobody does it like Ben Hill. So Ben Hill throttle cables will go on. other little stainless steel touches like this. This is the rear brake linkage. Just love the little details. Lovely little kind of knurled adjuster on the ends there. So that's all good. And then that will connect obviously to, what will you connect to? Oh, why have I got two of these? They sent me two. Don't know why that is. Anyway, you know what these are. These are the little actuator arms that go onto the little cam inside the final drive that actuates the brake shoes. And then this box here is literally just full of stuff that came off that needs to go back on. It's just full of everything from, what's this? Airbox clamps, you know, little air horns for the airbox, breather hoses, all the stuff that I'm going to be reusing and re-putting back on this bike. We've got here, what's that? A speedo cable, and a clutch cable. This is just a good example here. So I remember I was talking about the frame being painted. You see all this shiny stuff here? It's paint. When you paint a frame with stuff still on it, guess what happens? It goes flipping everywhere. And that was the case across the whole bike. Just, you can see it's all just flakes off. Just rubbish. Let's point you up here. Way up here. There's a windscreen. There's a plastic dash thing. That's new actually. It's brand new because that was all cracked, the original one. What have we got here? Suspension gaiters. Just need to clean up. They're perfectly fine. So yeah, it is organized chaos. Probably more chaotic than it is organized. But that's just some of the stuff there. And then we've got a whole load. It never ends. We've got a whole load of stuff in the dark bit of the garage at the moment. Back here. And up here we've got all the exhaust system is up there. Well, actually right at the back is all the exhaust. And then these guys in here. Let's see if we can get a light. Whoop! There we go. These guys are new. These are new brackets for the luggage. There they are. Gorgeous, beautiful chromed luggage mounts there. And I'm actually planning, for the most part, on using the Trip Machine Warrior 2 suede pannier bags, but I also do have, you can just see just there, there's a little corner of my BMW luggage, but they're not in great condition. Also up here, just hanging out, as you do, is a bunch of powder coated stuff. Subframe, luggage rack. They're kind of just cable tied onto these little hooks here, so they're not going to go anywhere. And they're just being kept out of the way for now until I can get them on the bike, hopefully sooner rather than later. And then down here, just bits and pieces like the rear mudguard and indicator assembly and all that kind of stuff. Again, it's just in the way at the moment, along with the seat and all that stuff. But hopefully in the next few days, we'll start getting this onto the bike. So there you go, that's an overview of the plan. And over the next few weeks, I'll just kind of focus in with some videos showing what I'm doing with some of those individual component parts. They're definitely not going to be how-tos because I'm not qualified to do anything along those lines. I'm new to this. I've never worked on a bike like this before. So I'm kind of making it up as I go along, as you'll probably see in the following comedy of errors. That will be the reassembly. But yeah, I'm just having a go at this. So there you go. Anyway, hit subscribe if you want to catch those videos when they drop. Thank you very much for checking in for this vid. Yeah, it's happy days. Things are looking good. And I'm looking forward to getting stuck into this rebuild. Thanks for watching.